Welcome, my culture soldier.
I'm at your command, my leader.
You have been enhanced by my Super Chud serum and trained to be an elite hunter of SJWs, wokies, and whoever I decide is our enemy this week.
Just tell me what to do when it will be done.
Our beloved Comicsgate and Fandom Menace are on life support, and we've been consistently and repeatedly shown to be dishonest, angry, clickbait reactionaries. We've said get woke, go broke for years, despite the definition being extremely vague, and despite the media we label as woke being very successful. We must take severe action to preserve our movement. After all, we just want good stories. You must go to the base of our nemesis, actual context, and—
He actually changed the name of his channel to Forced Adversity.
Okay, whatever. Are you his biographer? That's a dumb name too. It makes it sound like he is the one forcing adversity. Ha 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 ha.
Actually, sir, I think anyone with an understanding of the comic book industry and objective reality would understand the play on words is directed at us.
God damn it, dude, shut up. I hate being corrected. So, that didn't happen. I said everything correctly the first time, and you did not have to correct me. Got it?
Yes, sir. The old tactic of rewriting history that we don't like.
Son of a— Keep your damn mouth shut and go get the context cube. The context cube has the power to expose his audience to other progressive and healthy comic book channels. Honest channels. Creators who actually love comics. We must not allow him to release that info to his fans. My culture soldier, I order you, get the context cube and kill Context Cap. Mwahahahaha.
Forced adversity.
This video addresses the single most common request that I've gotten since I began the channel. What are some other non-Comicsgate, honest, and maybe progressive comic channels? Channels that focus on comic books but don't try to scam anyone, make them believe that the industry is being ruined when it's not. I've gotten this comment with nearly every video that addresses comics in some way. And I hadn't done it because, you know, to me, I feel like the channels that I follow, everyone else has to follow because like they're so big and influential to me that it just doesn't make any sense that everybody wouldn't know who they are. But it seems like a lot of you maybe haven't heard of some of these channels that I really, really look up to and inspire me and, you know, motivated me to start my own channel. So I really want to introduce you to these creators. I took a lot of time to explore, check consistency and quality and things like that, and just curate a really strong list of positive, healthy, inclusive comic book channels. Some of these are large channels that you might have heard of. Some of them are smaller channels that you probably haven't. And I'll be alternating from large to small back and forth as we go. I really encourage you to check these channels out. Drop them a like and a comment. Even if you don't connect with the content enough to subscribe, show some support, man. We gotta support healthy fandom and positive examples of fan culture. A couple of quick disclaimers. None of these creators have endorsed me doing this, okay? So unless I say, like, this person is my friend or whatever, they're simply a creator that I admire, that I subscribe to, but don't have any personal or creative connection to. They're just channels that I love and think should be way larger. Also, if you have heard of them, cool. No need to be snarky about it. I know there are large channels out there that many of you have heard of, but, you know, there's probably people that have not. If the channels I mention here are not for you, that's cool too. You don't need to let them know that. If you go check out some channel and it's like, oh, I don't like this, you don't need to comment and tell them that. That's pretty rude. If you want to go and be a positive, supportive member of their communities, try it out, man. All I ask is give these channels a fair shake. Watch a full video. I'll leave links below to the videos I think are the cream of their crops. Oh, gross, sorry. I did not choose these arbitrarily. I looked at content output, consistency, quality, and passion. Also, I do not agree with all of the perspectives of all of these creators. So this is not about me saying, here's a bunch of people who think exactly like I do. It's actually, here's some channels that are doing healthy, inclusive fandom and don't base their fandoms on the things they hate. They don't get hung up on one thing that happened they don't like and just stay mad about it for years. They don't have that weird hostility toward people of color, LGBT people, or women. Many of them are people of color, LGBT people, and women. They don't look for reasons to gatekeep or engage in targeted harassment. Some are more progressive than others. Some are pretty apolitical in how they discuss stuff. But there's a broad assortment of types of channels here, all of them dedicated to comics to some degree, in some way, shape, or form. Some go into the movie and TV versions of things. Some do other content like literature or film reviews. Some focus on the hobby of just being a collector. And yet others are adept at telling complex comic stories in an entertaining way. I'll tell you about each one as we go, but there's a lot of them, so let's get some context. With the Context Cube. Before we get started, if you enjoy this content, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, hit the like button or leave a comment with your channel recommendations. Maybe they'll make it into a future video. If you want to support all these amazing creators in this video, share this video with friends who might be interested.
As comic readers know, this is far from the first time Steve Rogers has abdicated the Star-Spangled Heart of the Avengers, although the reasons, death, rapid aging, corrupted by a Hydra-controlled cosmic cube, tend to oscillate. While Steve will always be the standard, there are plenty of other great stories that deal with other heroes trying to fill his shoes, creating one of the best legacy mantles in the Marvel Universe.
Comic Book Herald is a site dedicated to comic book reading orders and comics guides for all varieties of readers. Dave dedicates himself to providing comic book reading orders on his website, comicbookherald.com, and he does explainer videos on X-Men and lots of other comic stuff on YouTube. He's very, very meticulous, and he's very entertaining. They also have an awesome podcast called My Marvelous Year, where they go literally year by year, reviewing the best comics from every year. It's so damn good.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I didn't know what was going to happen inside. She's actually quitting the Marauders team. What?
Comic Book University. Professor Bill endeavors to educate the world on all things comic book related. Subjects include, but are not limited to, films, TV shows, and source material. The comics themselves. Put your thinking caps on, grab a seat in the front, and don't forget your notepads.
Thor's arm used to look like this, and then it looked like this, and then it looked like this. What's the deal with the arms?
AURUM'S Corner is a channel that covers lots of ground, but always comes back to comics with fresh perspectives and an entertaining format. This guy is just pretty incredible. I really like his vibe. I like his presence in videos and everything. So check him out.
Uncanny X-Men 185 begins with the government having a meeting about Rogue. Henry Gyrick gives a rundown of her powers and highlights her previous affiliation with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Great X-MENTATIONS is dedicated to reviewing and discussing comic books related to Marvel's Merry Mutants, the Uncanny X-Men. They do short-form summary videos as well as long commentary videos that explore what makes each single issue of X-Men great, and sometimes not so great.
The Immortal is an ancient being who was born as a normal human over 3,000 years ago, and the majority of his early life is a mystery to him, as so much time has passed that he has forgotten more about the world than most historians will probably ever know.
Key Issues does videos on comics and often provides comic context for new superhero shows as they air, like The Boys or Invincible. Occasionally, they also debunk those dumb Screen Rant lists.
What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Mint Hunter Comics, and I was in a comic book shop last week, and I came across the famous Star Wars 1, 2, and 3 from 1977.
Mint Hunter Comics focuses on statues, collector discussion, tips on how to collect, and how to be a great collector.
What might shock some of you is that unlike the MCU, Winter Soldier in the comics is not a super soldier. He did not take the super soldier serum like Captain America. But he is classified as a peak human, meaning the Winter Soldier isn't gonna have crazy feats like single-handedly taking down the Hulk. He's way more of a street level character. But come on, street level characters a lot of the time are cooler.
Variant Comics is a very large channel, but they're consistent and great at summarizing comics in a fun way.
One of my favorite things about this book and some other indie books that are coming out right now are the secret societies and the lore around those secret societies.
WILDEBEARD Reviews. This guy deserves all of your subscriptions. He's consistent and pleasant, he's informative, and just honestly, he seems like a guy I'd like to hang out and talk comics with. Is there a better compliment than that?
Immortal Hulk. We're on year 3 of Immortal Hulk, and it's still going strong, and that's really saying something because this was the year that I was kind of hesitant about its future. Because so far, Al Ewing has done a wonderful job embracing the Hulk's horror origins.
Professor THORGI has been around for a little while, but that's for good reason. He works in a New York comic shop and knows how to talk about the actual issues within the industry without, lying about it and being hateful. He's fun. His partner is awesome. They do a lot of reviews for different types of shows and things like that. Just check them out.
I did a wrap-up for 1961 through 1962, and now I'm in 1963.
Bookish Realm. I just discovered her last week, but it's really cool to hear a kind of new comics fan's perspective as they dive into the medium. Definitely recommend you check her out. She occasionally does videos following the My Marvelous Year series that I mentioned before from Comic Book Herald.
There are plenty of names out there that any comic book fan knows. Eisner, Kirby, Miller, McFarlane. But just as important are the names of talented creators that didn't necessarily become big names in and of themselves, but helped elevate the art form.
Comic Tropes. Chris at Comic Tropes is a saint among cretins on YouTube. He's wholesome, passionate, and just so knowledgeable of not just canon, but industry history. He gives insight to the creators of yesterday, who they were, what drove them, as well as the heavy hitters of today. And he recently had a brush with death from illness, so everyone go subscribe to Comic Tropes and show him some love.
We've talked about Nocturna before, focusing heavily on her classic pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths iteration. The version of her that was trying to seduce Batman and Bruce Wayne, but mostly Batman. Also the version who tried to adopt Jason Todd, who vanished in a hot air balloon. We also touched on her New 52 iteration, and also briefly on her post-Crisis on Infinite Earths iteration, but the New 52 had more meat to it. In this version, she was a vampire proper and got involved in that dark, abusive relationship with Batwoman.
Casually Comics. Sasha is terrific. She's wise and entertaining, and she does explainers of characters and stories, and really her videos can be addicting, so beware. But also, go subscribe and watch lots of her videos. It's worth it.
Spider-Man number 40 by DeMatteis and Jansen. I love Light the Night parts 1, 2, and 3. It's probably nostalgia too. No, you know what? I reread it and it does hold up.
Near mint condition. They do an awesome blend of talking canon and characters, along with reviews of collections and previews of upcoming books. It's a channel where you can be part of a positive, honest community and lay claim to some comic book knowledge.
Tales of vengeance are common in just about every type of media, but comics go the most intense with the details, and that's why it's the most fun to see.
You probably know What Culture from, they have several different channels, but they're well known for good reason. When I watch their lists, it usually reminds me of some book that I want to read, and they put a lot of work into their videos. Really entertaining stuff.
I just wrapped up X-Men Grand Design, probably one of the only Marvel comics written, drawn, colored, inked, lettered, penciled by a single motherfucker.
Cartoonist KAYFABE, the audio-visual inside scoop from master comic makers Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg. Piskor is the guy behind X-Men Grand Design, which is an awesome book, and Rugg is an indie creator with books like Street Angel and Aphrodisiac. I really love the way that they review comics here from just this overhead view, and like you're just turning the pages with them and exploring them along with them. Good stuff.
The writers behind the Ultimate Universe decided it was time to do a major event to shake up the status quo, altering the landscape of the universe in a way never really attempted in the regular continuity. The result of this was Ultimatum, a 2009 miniseries written by Jeff Loeb that saw unprecedented deaths to every corner of the Marvel Universe, killing over 20 established heroes and villains within 5 issues.
OWEN Likes Comics explores the fascinating real history behind Marvel and DC Comics' most popular characters, stories, and events, and the deeper meanings behind them, once dubbed the History Channel of comics.
So this guy, Huey Campbell, he loves his girlfriend, and they are enjoying the day, and they are out and about in this park, and all of a sudden, she accidentally gets killed by this superhero villain fight going on.
DANNYMALT is a film buff, a reader of comics, and a lover of giving random scores to things. He does pretty long-form videos a lot where he dives deep into entire runs and arcs of stories and stuff like that. He likes to introduce people to new comics, explain storylines in a cinematic way, and he gives commentary on why he did or didn't like something. He's fair, and that's good.
The X-Men have remained one of comics' most powerful and enduring social metaphors. Initially imagined as stand-ins for the icons of the civil rights movement, the heroic students of Xavier's School for the Gifted were characterized by their struggles to save a world that feared and hated them. With each new era in the title's history, this struggle, nicknamed the mutant metaphor, has evolved to encompass more, be it ethnicity, religion, or sexuality.
For every kind of geek, helping you navigate the weird worlds of geek culture. For every kind of geek has something for every kind of geek. This channel's kind of new to me, but I can already tell that I'll watch nearly every video he's got.
Gene is planning to teach Kid Omega certain abilities, certain tricks of the mind, because now Kid Omega has changed. He's not the same flippant, sarcastic asshole that he's always been. He's not a bad person like he used to be.
The Blurred Without Fear. On his channel, he reviews and breaks down a variety of Marvel and DC comics like Venom, X-Men, Hulk, Justice League, Avengers, Spectrum, Milestone Media, and just all kinds of stuff. He also covers comic book events and character breakdowns for lesser-known superheroes and villains, but more specifically, Black, Indigenous, and people of color characters.
Next one is Star Wars number 13, main cover. We have a bunch for this. We'll let it roll. This week's question is an interesting one. I actually asked it on my Instagram. Do appearances in TV shows or movies automatically make the comic book, say first appearance of that character, worth more money, or have we just been conditioned to believe that it does? It's an interesting question. There's a lot of different takes on this. There's really no wrong answer, but I'd like to hear from you guys.
Comics with Bueller. Bueller is such a chill dude. I love his wisdom and dedication to offering weekly comics reviews and info. Everything you want to know about collecting and investing in comic books. Comics with Bueller answers all your questions about Marvel, DC, and fantastic indie comics.
Heroes. It's an old-fashioned notion.
This show could kind of mirror what happened in the comics during the Dark Reign saga. And during the Dark Reign story, Norman Osborn started his own, government Avengers team. And in the comics, they were just called the Avengers, but the comic series was called the Dark Avengers. So in the MCU, starting in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, with the government introducing these new government heroes, that could be leading to something like the Dark Avengers in the comics. But obviously in the MCU, the team would not be called the Dark Avengers because that's not what they were even called in the comics. That's just the name of what the comic series was. So one possibility is in the MCU, like in the comics, they could just call it the Avengers, but it would be a whole new team. However, that would be kind of boring. So another possibility is that the new government hero team could be called the Thunderbolts and could kind of have General Thunderbolt Ross as the guy that puts the team together.
Kinda culty. You know all those channels that get millions of views for videos that make wild, unsubstantiated claims about Marvel movies? They just throw out theories and run with them, and the theories are rarely correct. Well, this guy's the exact opposite of that. He does such great work at deciphering clues to upcoming MCU projects. He knows the comics very well and can synthesize all that in a responsible way that doesn't try to convince you of anything. He's always very clear that this is just an estimation of what might happen. But ironically, his videos are really convincing and pretty often turn out to be spot on.
A man choosing the light when his world contains so much darkness. But what would happen to a daredevil shaken by his brush with death and still in the grips of a self-destructive lifestyle? Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, which has totaled 25 issues and 1 annual at the time of this video's publication, is the story of a hero compelled to continue his fight to protect Hell's Kitchen.
Matt Draper. Matt should have so many more subscribers, he's so damn good. Videos on films, comic books, and more in pop culture. He also covers horror and sometimes video games, but his comics content is next level. I really appreciate his passion for Daredevil.
This really goes back to what's called the first host of the Celestials. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what that means, the Celestials, as you may or may not know, are basically like this race of space gods. Now, their origin has been retold over and over and over again, and more recently, it was retold in Al Ewing's Ultimates, which if you never read that, it's an amazing story.
Comics Explained. If you aren't in the Rob Corps, man, let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something, man. Okay, sorry. I love this guy. He was the first channel I ever subscribed to on YouTube. And he was the channel that made me start to think, hey, maybe I can do something like this one day. Rob's been reading comics for over 25 years. So whether you're looking to get back into comics, brush up your knowledge, or just wanting to get in for the first time, look no further than Comics Explained. Check out his content and he'll make you an expert. And here's a fun bonus drinking game. Drink every time Rob says Wolverine.
Wolverine. So Wolverine Volume 3.
You have found yourself at the COMICSTORIAN channel, where we take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. We then read them dramatically back to you. All right, so today, guys, we're going to be doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, issue number 2.
COMICSTORIAN is another big player in comics YouTube. They offer dramatic readings of comic stories from DC, Marvel, and indie alike. Nothing is free from their dramatic readings.
We have the accidentally depressing Spider-Man greeting card.
Yeah, and we only heard of this because it's something that went viral.
That's right. Firewalk with Mags. He posted this to Twitter and he said, grim.
Comic Tom. Tom and his gang are always on top of the hottest comics. They do ongoing comic book reviews, market analysis, and history. Tom's a collector, enthusiast, and a comic seller. He's been an active member in the comic book community his entire life. Tom also does very frequent giveaways, so go check him out and see what you might get.
Sif is on Asgard trying to convince Thor's father to save him, and she's like, "Oh, I love you," and Thor's like, "Yeah, and I'm gonna go fuck the Enchantress."
Is he concerned at all that
No.
he's dying still?
I think he got over it. Sometime around the time Enchantress grabbed his butt, I think he...
It's just about
Oh, you know what? I think I'm feeling a lot better now.
I'm feeling a lot better.
It's like,
Yes.
oh, but you're sick. Oh, no.
No,
I think I'm
I have the
actually
strength
good.
of 10 men.
Comic Pop is one of the best places for healthy, hilarious fan discussions of comic stories. They do frequent deep dives into older arcs as well as more recent stories. And Sal and his crew know how to keep it fun the whole time. Okay, I saved this one for last, because this channel produced the video that is the single most influential video that I've ever seen on YouTube. Now, it may not be that way for you, but there's a good chance it might be. Remember I said Rob at Comics Explained inspired me to want to start a comics channel? Well, that was in 2015, and I didn't start one for 4 more years. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think anyone would care what I had to say. Now, you guys have shown me how wrong I was, but before that, it took a specific video to light the fire under my ass.
Nobody succeeds at being the person they're supposed to be. And what we actually do in spite of our own expectations is what truly defines us. It's maybe the most human moment in Avengers Endgame, and it's between 2 deities.
I wish we had more time.
No, this was a gift. Now you go and be the man you're meant to be.
When Frigga says this line, she doesn't mean to imply that Thor must continue to try and fulfill a predetermined destiny of him becoming king of Asgard. She's telling Thor that the man he's meant to be is something that he should discover on his own. Forge his own path and figure out what he wants to be, unshackled by the burden of his expected, inevitable destiny. And that is a powerful message, especially in a movie where the heroes only have one path to victory out of 14 million, and the main baddie is constantly spouting about destiny.
I am inevitable. That is destiny fulfilled.
At the end of the film, Thor recognizes Valkyrie as the new king of Asgard and allows himself the time to discover who he is.
It's time for me to be who I am rather than who I'm supposed to be.
Scott at NerdSync is one of the most passionate comic fans I've ever seen, and he covers film, comics, Scooby-Doo, Bob Ross. He likes to keep it varied, but it's always a wholly satisfying experience. I can't recommend NerdSync enough. Please be sure to go check out some of these creators, if not all of them, and show them some support. The atmosphere of hateful nonsense has improved somewhat, but we still have a long way to go before the greater comics community is free from dishonest and cruel anti-fans. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit the like thingy because that really helps the channel grow. I'll be back very soon with a similar video, except it'll be recommendations for Star Trek, fantasy, and sci-fi type channels that I love. So be on the lookout. Shit, I'm too late, aren't I? He already showed you guys those channels, didn't he? I knew I shouldn't have stopped to rage tweet. Well, at least I got the context cue. What is this?